actual diagnosis happen to a patient, if he wants to give for a medical nutrition therapy or clinical diet chart prescription for the given patient. So in that cases, the drugs and the pharmaceuticals so important for a dietitian to need to know. Dietitians are supposed to not write any drugs or any medicine, but they need to know what about the action and what are the nutrient interaction with this particular drug. So in that contrast, we try to show different slides that we can see the which drug and which particular nutrient has to interact with each other, and that it could be a combined and it could be an onset therapy for a given patient. So what is basically the drug nutrient interaction? Suppose for any given point of time, a doctor prescribes a particular drug. Maybe he or she will say, this drug we will take after food, this drug we will take in empty stomach, this drug we will take within a day, this drug we will take before bedtime, this drug we will take in empty stomach in early morning. So why? Because all the drugs have their the separate half-life. So what is the half-life basically? The half-life means it is a particular the absorption timing and the drug action. Okay, so different drugs.
Excuse me, dietitian, Richard, somebody has written in the chat box that your voice is not clear. Can you be louder? Is it possible to increase the volume?
Am I audible right now?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay, great. Okay, so they can increase their volume because I am the microphone. Definitely, I'm audible. So they can increase their particular device volume, maybe laptop or phone. So in that cases, actually the drug actions. So there are the two terms basically. If we talk about the drug interaction with the food, there are pharmacokinetics and the pharmacodynamics. So what is the pharmacokinetics basically? The pharmacokinetics basically the drug intake, drug absorption, drug metabolism, and drug excretion. So this drug absorption, metabolism, excretion is all linked to the pharmacokinetics. And pharmacodynamics basically the drug action. When I talked about the half-life, this half-life basically the drug action. Maybe our particular drug half-life is 12 hours. The particular drug half-life is 24 hours. Particular drug half-life is 8 hours. So different drugs have their different half-life. In that cases, we have to know which drug particularly have what is the timing of their half-life. Now, the drug and drug food interactions is very important that we are discussing. The benefits of the minimizing their interaction and effect of the malnutrition on drugs. So those are so important the learning objectives that we will try to shed the light on into this topic. So what is bioavailability? Bioavailability that we know very well, that the degree to which a drug or the other substance reaches the circulation and becomes available to the target organ or tissue. Suppose we are taking a amount of drug, particular dosage of drug. Suppose I'm giving an example. There are particular drug is called the levothyroxine sodium. Doctors, the physician, used to prescribe this drug basically to treat for the hypothyroidism. We know the hypothyroidism T3, T4, TSH, and they are in the correction of the T4 thyroxine hormone. And this is basically a hormone, and the people used to take with the medication levothyroxine sodium. There's different brand name. We know used to the brand name Absorption, Hydronorm, Uthyr, different brand names are available in the market. And doctor used to write the drug early in the morning in empty stomach. Early in the morning in the empty stomach, and they try to follow to the patients, not all the doctor. This is the role of a dietitian to educate the patient that if you take this drug in empty stomach, then you have to give at least 1 hour transit period, 1 hour washout period. Including this 1 hour, you will not allowed to take any other PPI, any calcium, any vitamin, any fruit, any beverages, nothing. Okay, because what will happen if he or she the patient takes any kind of food or any kind of drink with the drug after 10 minutes, after 15 minutes, the bioavailability is not up to the mark. The drug will not probably absorb the absorption we basically keen to seek for the drug. Maybe doctor has written 75 mg of levothyroxine sodium. Then if we take the beverages, tea, coffee, any other drugs, within 10 to 15 minutes, maybe it will absorb 30 mg, 20 mg like that. So this is bioavailability is so important in that, because the physicians and doctors, they're very busy for the what I will say, the diagnosis part, the blood report part, the other part. So they maybe doesn't have too much of time to educate for a patient. But for a dietitian, a clinical dietitian who practices in the hospitals, like I'm working in the KPC Medical College in hospital, and in the cases that our interns used to go for all the wards, all the different surgical wards, different OPDs, and they used to see the doctor's prescription, doctor's clinical file, which drug is being prescribed. Because need to knowing it, nobody will stop to know anything. You can know. Okay, that is so important, because I was from the Berkeley Health in Lajpat Nagar, New Delhi, for the heart failure courses. In that case, we need each and every medicine that we have to know properly, the mechanism, the action, the site of actions, anything. So you have to know this thing. Half-life, what I've discussed, the half-life, the amount of time it takes for the blood concentration of a drug to decrease by 1/2 of its steady state level. So that is so important that we have to know the action of the particular drug. Maybe it's 12 hours, maybe it's 24 hours, maybe it's 8 hours. So half-life is different drugs are different. Then the side effect. The side effect is so important, but I mean to say this so highlightly, there is a difference between side effects and the adverse events. Because side effect and adverse event or adverse effect is not the similar. Maybe to some extent is similar, but they are different. Suppose if we talk about the side effects, like there is a particular drug, the sildenafil, but because people know this drug basically predominantly used for for the male impotency, erectile dysfunction in that cases. But this drug potentially used for the portal arterial hypertension. This is a cardiological drug. This is not the drug for the sexual dysfunction drug. This is a cardiological drug. People, doctors, cardiologists use these drugs to treat arterial hypertension. If this is a side effect, maybe side effect after having the particular medication, patient may be little obese. Those who are underweight, so maybe this obesity will help them to gain some weight. So side effects maybe doesn't need always the medical intervention. Doesn't need always the medical intervention. But the adverse event is an untoward event. This needs always the medical interventions. Suppose I'm talking about the drug predominantly is for the heart failure patient. It's called the ARNI. ARNI is the angiotensin receptor of nephrilizing inhibitor. This is the drug is called the ARNI. And if the patient is taking ARNI prolonged time, then the doctor used to see their renal function test, because after having the ARNI, patient having some problem with hyperkalemia, maybe CKD1, maybe other problem. So in that cases, the medical intervention should be there. And also, if a person like me as a heart failure patient counselor, if he doesn't know what is ARNI used for, then I'm not much more of cautious of prescribing the potassium-rich food and protein-rich food. Okay, maybe I'm giving too much of supplement. Maybe I'm giving too much of the clinical nutraceuticals. So we have to know why ARNI is used for. So in that cases, medical intervention is very, very, very much important if this prescribe this kind of drug. Again, I'm saying, suppose ARNI, previously for the treating for a heart failure treatment, doctor used to write enalapril, any kind of AC inhibitor, cardase and all the AC inhibitors. AC inhibitors full form is angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. If we talk about the RAS pathway, renin angiotensin aldosterone pathway or mechanism, we can see what is the function of the AC inhibitor like angiotensin, angiotensin 1, ARB and all those things. So if you talk about the medicine, the action of the medicine, we can get to know about these inhibitors, roles of the inhibitors. So this is the another part that I'm not discussing today. So what is the problem? Suppose a patient is on cardase or angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. If the patient is taking the Cardase and doctor writes ARNI, then patient has to wait for 36 hours. 36 hours to start ARNI, not the same day, not the next. Suppose I am taking AC inhibitor. I have taken today morning Cardase or any enalapril or any kind of AC inhibitors, and doctor prescribed in this time. Doctor have prescribed me the ARNI. I am not going for starting from tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning I will not take AC inhibitor again, and day after tomorrow I will take this ARNI. What will happen? The ARNI and the AC inhibitors conjugate together, and angioedema will happen. Angioedema means swelling of face, swelling of feet, body swelling, and the patient might be going for death also. So in that cases, this half-life, this side effect, this adverse event, side effects are so different. So all the terms maybe sound like synonymical terms, maybe such as like given an example like heart failure and heart attack, which is too different. Heart failure is basically a pumping problem. Heart not enough to pump properly for the blood pumping, and heart attack means there is a death of the cardiac tissues and for supplying a lack of oxygen, lack of nutrients, and patients. So this may be listened like very similar: heart failure, heart attack, adverse event, side effect. But if we talk about the medical terminology, it's different. Now we're talking about the bioavailability, this percentage free to function, absorption rate, percentage of absorbent time for absorption, transported like amount in blood is free or bound, metabolized, altered by enzymes in tissues, mixed function oxygen systems, MFOS, enzyme system that metabolize drugs, carcinogens, compounds in food, etc. and etc. Now we'll talk about the pharmacokinetics. So this is the pharmacokinetics, the absorption, the distribution, the metabolism, and excretion, both all are important. Like if we talk about the tyramine, if we talk about a tyramine basically found in cured meat, different the processed meats and cheese and all those things. But people are taking SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, like all the anti-anxiety, depression, this kind of drugs. And also they are taking this tyramine-rich food because these tyramine are basically a vasoconstrictor. So what will happen if a patient is taking this too much of vasoconstrictor with these MAO inhibitors, monoxylamino inhibitors, this MAO inhibitors, SSRI drugs, then the blood pressure will rise. Patient go for a hypertensive patient, the HDL patient. So that's why the tyramine-rich food shouldn't be prescribed when a patient is taking MAO inhibitors or SSRI, such kind of drugs. Same as mineralocorticosteroids. Mineralocorticosteroids like spironolactone, aldactone, this kind of drug. Basically, potassium sparing effect will happen. If you're taking too much of this kind of drug, maybe patient leads to hyperkalemia. So if the patient is taking this mineralocorticosteroid, spironolactone, aldactone, this kind of drug, they are basically a potassium restricted food for the time they are administering this kind of medication. Look, drug administration, what I am talking about, the absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, these processes are remain same. We will discuss what is absorption, what is distribution, what is metabolism, and what is excretion basically. But the different absorption sites are different. The absorption, the sites are different. So that is so different because we can't the same drug action like a PPI drug and also cardiologic drug. So that is different. But the process, if we talk about the pharmacokinetics, that is same for each and every drug. What is absorption? The route of administration, maybe the oral administration, maybe sometimes in IV administration, these are there. The chemistry of the drug and its ability to the cross membrane, the rate of gastric emptying for the oral drug and the GI movement. We know all the gastric emptying is so important because we talk about the gastric emptying in that cases, the GI problem, GI trouble, the quality of the product formulation, food components and the nutritional supplements, can interfere with absorption, especially if the drug is taken orally. If we talk about the nutritional supplement, like we'll talk about the nutraceutical or the clinical food widely available in the market, but a patient can't, club together a nutritional supplement and the drug and taking together. It is not advisable. Drug timing, drug with water, drug with chewable form, that is so different when a doctor used to prescribe, and they have to adhere what the physician say. Dietitian will never say the drug timing in that should be depends on a doctor, but dietitian will say the nutrient interaction with the particular drug, and they have a right to discuss about the nutrients first on distribution. So what is the distribution basically? The distribution is when the drug leaves the systematic circulation and moves to various parts of the body. Drugs in the bloodstream are often bound to plasma proteins. Only unbound drugs can leave the blood and affect the target organ. Low serum albumin can increase availability of drugs and potentiate their effect. So distribution is so important. The circulation, the drug, going to the blood plasma proteins, that is so important for a drug distribution part. Metabolism, like we know all the food metabolism and the drug metabolism, the biotransformation, that is also happened primarily in the liver. Basically, there is a particular enzyme that is cytochrome P450, CYP450 enzyme, that basically are enzyme present in the liver that facilitates the drug metabolism. Metabolism generally changes the fat-soluble compounds to the water-soluble compound that can be excreted. So this excretion depends on the half-life. Suppose if you talk about the ARNI, I'm just giving the example ARNI. When a particular drug is ARNI, like ARNI 50, then ARNI 50 means ARNI 25, 12 hours, 25, 12 hours. So this 50. So this 100, the same thing, this half-life. So it depends on the half-life. The excretion, this part, is dependent on the half-life. Foods or dietary supplements that increase or inhibit these enzyme systems can change the rate of extent of the drug metabolism. So we have to see which particular dietary supplement is going on, because there are some cases. If we talk about the drug like warfarin, if we talk about drug like Coumadin, if we talk about the drug like Aritra, these are the drugs are basically the blood thinner, and we know vitamin K have a role at the anticoagulant effect. The anticoagulant effect of a role. So basically, the vitamin K are basically inducing the activity of the anticoagulants. So in that case, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please continue.
Okay. So in that cases, what is the role of the vitamin K? The vitamin K rich foods like phenylgalquinine, menaquinine, and all the foods. We talk about the scientific names. They are basically good for the anticoagulation. But a patient is taking the drug, basically warfarin, Coumadin, acetrom. In that cases, then they has to restrict the vitamin K rich foods. Look, I'm saying sometimes definitely medical professional like doctors, physicians, there are good friends and good supports. Sometimes some doctors write in the prescription, okay, I have prescribed the warfarin, acetrom, then dietitian, you should always go for the vitamin K restriction. I think you should avoid the vitamin K. So, but not all the doctors will write these things. Okay, so in that cases, we have to know which drug is basically administered. Now, our students also in KPC. So we always try to see that you have to calculate. You have to calculate the nutritive value, because I have formally ausculted about what Bella ma'am said. And really, I just gone for my college days. Such a teacher. It's a lovely speech she has been done. That all the food groups, important of the food group, that is the primary role of a dietitian. But if a dietitian works in the hospital setup, works in the ICU, different ward, cardiology setup, because I worked in the cardiology setup in New Delhi. In that cases, they have to know in particular which drugs are available and which drugs are going for this drug-nutrient interaction. That is so important. So this is the way the food and dietary supplement that increase or inhibit these enzyme systems can change the rate of extent of the drug metabolism. What is the pharmacodynamics? Physiological and biochemical effects of a drug or combination of the drug. The mechanism of action, how a drug works, that is so important. Often the drug molecule binds to a receptor enzyme or the ion channel, producing a physiological response. I have just put in an example a couple of minutes back, the iron. The same thing when the doctor used to prescribe ARB. What is ARB? Angiotensin receptor blocker. If we go for the the lower chart of the RAS pathway, renin angiotensin pathway, we can see the ARB. ARB basically we know all the drugs. Sartan, suffix with sartan, telmisartan, olmesartan. If you don't know the company's name, Telma and all those things, you people know very well this drug. Basically, maybe our parents, grandparents, people who are very senior taking this drug. Nowadays, not a senior, a junior. If we put example of the Siddharth Shukla, oh my God, a 40 years old guy, and has been died for the cardiac arrest. So this is so unfortunate incident happened. So in that cases, so this is so very common name. So in ARB, a doctor prescribe a heart failure patient the ARB that doesn't need any washout. Just stop the ARB, start that. What I have discussed in AC inhibitors need 36 hours washout period, the same drug. AC inhibitors, same drug for the hypertension. ARB is the same drug for the hypertension, but there is no research at all for the beta blocker and other drugs also. I'm taking two examples. One is AC inhibitors, like all the LOL, like metoprolol, propranolol, enalapril, all that kind of things. Sorry, the pril kind of thing. LOL is something different, beta blocker. And the AC inhibitors like sartan, like telmisartan, olmesartan, that is second example. So sartan and the pril, these two. So pril is the AC inhibitors and sartan is the ARB. So AC inhibitors need 36 hours washout period, but sartan, ARB doesn't need washout period. Stop the ARB, start. So in that cases, the different drugs have different effects. Genetically determined variation that are revealed solely by the effects of drug. Affect only a subset of people. Example like G6PD, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, deficiency, warfarin resistance, and the slow inactivations of the isoniazid, IHN, or the phenyl. So this kind of drug should be an example. So what is glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme deficiency? So basically, X chromosome link can lead to the neonatal jaundice. We know if we talk about the icterus, the infective hepatitis, we can see there are three kinds of jaundice: neonatal jaundice, viral hepatitis, obstructive jaundice. So after birth, there is some jaundice, neonatal jaundice, hemolytic anemia, acute hemolysis. Most common in Africa, Middle Eastern, South Asian, also called the favism. Favism, we know the fava beans and all those things. Pollen, vitamin K, vitamin C can cause the hemolysis. CYP236 is metabolized 25% of the drug, including many antidepressant, antipsychotics, and the narcotics. Slow metabolites at risk for the toxicity and the adverse drug effect. Fast metabolites have the unpredictable response. Drug genotyping in future will help determine the most effective meds for the individual, because we know that this genotyping and all the drug different codes are there in that cases that is so different from the individual. So what is the drug nutrient interaction? The drug nutrient interaction is a reaction between a medicine or one or more nutrients and the vitamins and minerals that are in the food you eat. Vitamins and minerals nourish your body, help keep you healthy, and reduce the risk for the chronic diseases. When a medicine interacts with a nutrient, it can keep the medicine from the working properly, and it can also decrease or increase the amount of nutrient in our body. Suppose there are a particular fruits, it is not available in our India very rapidly, but we used to know this fruit like grapefruit. We know Joshi Modhu, like licorice, botch, and all the things. So these are basically a potential inhibitors for a drug action. So there are very common drugs. We'll come to this part. There are very a few drugs which basically reacts with the grapefruit, reacts with the citrus fruits, reacts with the natural licorice, reacts with the alcohol, reacts with the caffeinated beverage, and also the high fructose corn syrup, the aerated beverage, like carbonated beverage. So In these cases, these particular things like carbonated beverage, caffeinated beverages, natural licorice, grapefruit should be avoided when you go for a particular drug. I will come to drug by its name and we'll discuss it. I'm discussing the supplement interactions. According to the US Food and Drug Administration, 75% of Americans take dietary supplements. A dietary supplement, a vitamin, mineral, or herb you take, you improve your health or wellness. However, when taken with prescription or over-the-counter medication, dietary supplements can cause bad side effects. Supplements can affect the way a medicine acts or the way that body absorbs, use, or get rid of. So in the case of supplements, supplements are different chapter. Like pharmacology are different chapters for our MBBS students. Maybe we try to read the pharmacology, maybe our another chapter or our additional chapter, elective chapter. But in medical students, this is very not elective. This is compulsory paper for them. They used to study of these things. Again, the dietary supplement that has to be studied properly because different supplements have different role. The same supplements are available for a diabetic patient is not goes for a diabetic nephropathy patients. There is a different supplement. A same supplement can goes for a baby which is underweight, a failure to thrive, is not going for the proper height and weight according to their age, but not goes for the same thing. A baby is basically, the casein-free, lactose-free, glucose-free, and all the diets. So there may be a semi-elemental, elemental form for the particular food. Maybe a patient is taking a drug, taking a supplement for a normal healthy weight, but the same supplement maybe are not forming the EN, like enteral nutrition, like tube feeding solution, blenderized form, and also homogeneous food. So maybe a different supplement. So the osmolarity, the renal solute load, all these are so important because blindly we can't keep this these supplements because a different gym, not all the gyms. I'm not going the gym business. I'm not against the gym business and all those things. But this is a fact. But we have seen basically the hospital people that they're taking too much of supplements like creatine supplement, whey protein supplements because a protein, the calculation of the protein, the actual body weight multiply 1.2 grams of protein is the actual protein, the protein intake. But a person doesn't need 300 grams of protein, 400 grams of protein. This is so absurd. So what will happen? This is the proteinuria, the chronic kidney disease, glomerulonephritis, and patient ended up with the end-stage renal disease, ESRD. Maybe patient ended up with the chronic infective hepatitis. This kind of problem may happen. So dietary supplements cannot be OTC. That should be, written, prescribed by a physician or a clinical dietitian. They have to write the dietary supplement, and the dosage are so important. Like if you talk about the basically a particular condition like IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, in that cases, doctor used to prescribe, and we used to struggle because I have been studying in my fellowship that there are a particular diet we used to call low FODMAP diet, low fructooligosaccharides, low polyols, this kind of diet. So not all the food, maybe dietary fiber are so important, but in the low residue diet and low FODMAP diet, dietary fiber will not work. So in that cases, we have to know that which particular food groups, which particular disease and diagnosis happen. In that cases, we have to write, we have to see a doctor's prescription, a doctor's, what I will say, description, and maybe a discharge certificate getting from the hospital. Interaction that already have been discussed, that definitely a physician, a doctors used to write these things. I'm not repeating of these things. The complex interaction between food and nutrients, the drug-defined substance used in the diagnosis, treatment, prevention of a disease, or component of a medication. There are many dramatic results and problems that may be caused by the food-drug, drug-drug, alcohol-food drug interaction, as these vary from person to person. So it's so important that drug-nutrient, this interaction, food-drug interaction, that solely we have to know for the onset of a treatment. We already been discussed, again, the sum of the drug absorption, food or nutrients in the stomach or intestine may act to reduce the absorption of a drug, delaying digestion. binding to minerals found in the food or adhering to the food particles. In the other cases, the food may promote drug absorption. Drug breakdown, food may act to enhance the inhibit the metabolism of the certain drugs in the body. Drug excretion, food and nutrients may act to alter the reabsorption and excretion of drugs from the kidney. That we know very well. The NSAIDs, non-steroid anti-inflammatory drugs, we are not solely taken, but maybe sometimes we try to force to our doctor to write, oh, it's a painkiller, but that is not done because this excretion rate is too high and it leads to the liver problem and kidney problem at the end of the time, prolonged usage. Okay, so that's why the painkiller, okay, is a SOS, is not a periodic drug. Certain food components can lead to the enhancement or opposition of the effects of some drug. Some examples of food and constituents found in the food include vitamins, minerals, fat, proteins, caffeine, or alcohol. We know the coffee, the tea, the bromohexane, bromoxanthin, all are so important for our adrenal cortex, our, the energy, everything. Different research. There are research been published from National Nutrition of India, NNNI, from Hyderabad. So that is good. But not all the food groups, maybe the bronchodilator, the bradykinin effect, so important because this coffee, the caffeine is not always suggested. Basically for the pregnant lady, the pregnant women, there are some publications is also there. There is a pregnant lady, pregnant women not